even possible closure on the table. Tonight, we find out why and what hospital leaders are saying tonight.
We have northern lights overhead, but clouds building ahead of a round of rain tomorrow morning.
Really? I mean, this just doesn't happen.
Plus, neighbors in Post Falls stunned after a newly built home was reduced to rubble by a man in an excavator. We'll break down what happened and the charges that man now faces tonight. Good evening and thank you for joining us for the KREM 2 Night Report. I'm Mark Hanrahan. New tonight, Ritzville's only hospital is at risk of both layoffs and closure. As KREM 2's Cody Proctor found out from the interim CEO, if that happens, it would leave both a hole in the small town and Eastern Washington's hospital network.
This is the warn notice that East Adams Rural Healthcare sent to the state, warning about the possibilities of layoffs and even potentially closing the hospital here in Ritzville. But according to leadership, this is only a formality, and they're doing everything they can to make sure that doesn't happen. The hospital in Ritzville has been around since 1952. But East Adams Rural Healthcare's days could be numbered.
We're in our spot because of financial crisis that we find ourselves in.
According to interim CEO Todd Nida, the crisis includes more than $13 million in losses from 2022 to 2024 when no audits were done.
That is a result of how the facility was managed by prior administration.
When asked about specifics, Nida says he couldn't give those, but adds there are multiple investigations happening.
There's local and county law enforcement involved, DOJ, DEA, OIG, and the SAO office, and the Washington State Medical Commission are currently running investigations here that we are complying with and assisting with.
The warn notice says East Adams Rural did get $2 million in Washington State hospital distressed funding. However, NIDA wrote in the notice their debt's gotten to a point where vendors can't support them without being paid. He says their debt sits at about $5 million.
The payoff of that, and a lot of that is our accounts payable to our vendors, is insurmountable for us at our amount of revenue that we take in.
If East Adams Rural can't bridge the gap, 100 employees could potentially be laid off in early January. Closure is also a possibility, hurting both Ritzville and the I-90 corridor. The two other nearest hospitals are in Moses Lake and Odessa, but the drive time of at least 30 minutes to each one isn't ideal.
Every minute counts when you're in a critical situation like that, and that is why we're here, and that is what we're trying to maintain and keep.
Right now, Oneida says they're considering multiple solutions, including working with foundations and state lawmakers to try to change East Adams Rural Healthcare from a critical access hospital to a rural emergency hospital, which would help them be more profitable. Now, for those that are concerned about the situation, there will be a community meeting here in Ritzville on Saturday. That'll be at 2 p.m. at Legion Hall. In Ritzville, Cody Proctor, KREM 2 News.
The longest government shutdown in U.S. history could be coming to an end. 8 members of the Democratic caucus split with their party, voting with Republicans to support the package that will fund the government through the end of January, extend funding for SNAP benefits for a full year, and reverse shutdown-related layoffs for federal workers. But the deal does not include an extension of Affordable Care Act tax subsidies, the issue at the heart of the deadlock. Among House members returning to Washington, D.C. for the upcoming vote is Eastern Washington Representative Michael Baumgartner. We spoke with him earlier today to get his perspective on the shutdown and the issue behind it.
There's a number of things we need to do in healthcare, but the answer isn't just to prop up the broken healthcare system. So we'll see what happens with that vote. I'm certainly willing to have those discussions. You know, I realize that there are, there are certain challenges to the system.
Washington Senator Maria Cantwell took to social media addressing the Affordable Care Act, saying in part, quote, "This bill doesn't address the core issue that millions of Americans will no longer be able to afford ACA insurance coverage next year." While the government shutdown may soon be ending, a Spokane-based contracting business is giving back to the community by donating some of their profits to local food banks. KREM 2's Connor McAvoy reports tonight.
We love our community. We grew up here. Adam Anselm is the marketing director for a new Spokane-based general contracting business known as Galaxy Paint Solutions. After several months in operation, he and other staff started noticing more people in Spokane hungry with less options for food. It's a feeling Anselm says his friend and the business's owner, Ryan, is all too familiar with.
He was someone who was in the line for the food bank as a kid because his family had a need, and so it hits home for all of us.
That's why Anselm says they're giving back to those facing a similar need. Throughout the month of November, the business is donating $100 of food to local food banks for every $1,000 made on a job. This in response to growing worries in the community with SNAP benefit funding on pause amidst the shutdown. They're calling it the Step Up Spokane initiative. Anselm says they've already donated hundreds of dollars worth of food to the Salvation Army food pantry.
We're just trying to make sure where the need is being met as best we can. We can only do so much.
Anselm says they're trying to find that need during an uncertain time. On Monday, the Senate passed a spending bill aimed at ending the government shutdown within a few days. That bill's now headed to the House to be considered tomorrow. All this while SNAP benefit recipients face continued uncertainty. Earlier this month, a U.S. district judge directed the Department of Agriculture to fully fund SNAP benefits during the shutdown. Then on Friday, the Supreme Court granted the Trump administration's emergency appeal to temporarily block that order. With SNAP funds uncertain as of Tuesday night, Anselm hopes to bring a sense of security to the place he and his coworkers call home, hoping others who can will also step up and do the same.
We don't need to take votes on if we should donate food. We can just go do it.
Connor McAvoy.
So we decided, hey, let's do it.
KREM 2 News.
Well, tonight the Zags brought home a big win against their first ranked opponent this year in the Creighton Blue Jays. The Zags pulled together a nearly 30-point victory tonight and move on to 3-0 on the season. So we will have all the highlights and a live look from the kennel tonight from sports director Andrew Quinn coming up later in the show tonight. All right, let's talk weather on this Tuesday night with Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Legoo. Jeremy, the big weather story tonight, the Northern Lights. My goodness.
Yeah, downright incredible across much of the region. Unfortunately for us here in Spokane, we are socked in. It is pea soup up here on the South Hill, 38 degrees, and it is foggy. Unfortunately, fog took over a good chunk of the inland northwest, and now over the top of it slides some cloud cover. So if you're in North Idaho, you might still squeeze out a little bit of time before the clouds take over. But by tomorrow morning, we're all waking up to a little bit of rain across the region. By the morning commute, though, most of that should be off to the north, so I think wet roads, will be the main contender early in the day. Throughout the day, we might see a couple of breaks in those clouds and a little bit of sunshine, but by Thursday, the rain is back in the forecast, and this time it comes with a little more wind. That wind and the rain will take us through a good chunk of the day on Thursday, so I would call Thursday a wash. By Friday, all of that moisture starts moving out, and we might even catch a little bit of sun as it does. But check out these temps. 53 tomorrow, 55 on Thursday with all that rain before we start cooling down on the backside of it on Friday.
Good, Jeremy. We'll check back in with you later in the show tonight. A new Post Falls home, now a pile of rubble after police say someone used an excavator to destroy it this morning. Officers say when they got to the scene, they saw someone driving away, and after a traffic stop, that driver, a 29-year-old man, was arrested for DUI as well as burglary and malicious injury to property. We spoke with a neighbor who lives right across the street from where it all happened.
Wayne came and my husband came and woke me up and he said, they're tearing the house down across the street. And I'm going, what are you talking about? I was kind of awake, I just hadn't got up yet. Well, I couldn't believe it. When I walked out the door, I'm going, really? I mean, this just doesn't happen.
Investigators confirmed the person allegedly responsible for the demolition was a construction worker and was also unhoused. It'll be up to a year before another house is available on that property again. All right, don't go to bed just yet. Veterans going out of their way to help other veterans. How a local food distribution event in Northwest Spokane is making a difference. But first, authorities believe they may have found the man who was robbing stores across Spokane armed with a shotgun disguised with a Halloween mask. The details in just 90 seconds.